I am Sean, your host. Today I'm going to be talking to you all, and please come in the comments and share your thoughts because I just woke up yesterday to at least 3 messages from students who are in a radiologic technology program that they just found out that they are not able to get a New York license. Yes, they are not able to get licensed in the state of New York for radiologic technology, even though they've applied to this school to become radiologic technologists. And in good faith, they trusted that this was going to get them through their 2 years. They were working individuals from the comments that I've gotten. So you want to know what happened here and how can you not get stuck in this type of situation? And if you are in this situation of going to a radiologic technology program and things like this happening where the state says you cannot be licensed in our state if you go to this particular school and it is effective immediately, what do you do? How do you figure it out? We're going to talk about it today. So let's get going. So let's talk about what happened. Well, students who are in the radiologic technology program at JPU, John Patrick University, which is, from my understanding, on the ARRT list, and they follow the curriculum. Now, what happens is there's a difference that confuses a lot of people. JRCERT, J-CERT, accreditation for schools, or other accreditations for school. Well, JPU is not J-CERT accredited. They hold another accreditation. You can go on their website and find out what that accreditation is. It is the ACCSC. So that stands for Accrediting Commission of Career Schools and Colleges. And this information that I'm talking about today is on their website. So people go to that school because it is a private university, a private school for radiologic, medical imaging, radiologic technology. And effective June 10th, New York State stated, I'll read it from their website. It says, New York, the New York State Department of Health, effective June 10th, 2025, has suspended the issuance of licenses in radiologic technology to graduates of John Patrick University. No prior notice was provided to JPU. According to JPU, JPU does not agree with the decision and is pursuing all available avenues to resolve the matter as quickly as possible. Yes, these are the messages I woke up to, and I said, well, let me go look and see what this is, because I know people that have gone through this program for multiple different modalities. So I was a little shocked, and it looks like JPU was shocked too. And from the comments and messages I'm getting, students are shocked as well. So what happened? In short, they just lost their program approval status in New York for radiologic technology. Students who are currently enrolled can't graduate with a New York license. Now, as far as I know, they can get an ARRT registry. If they finish the program, they're able to sit for their ARRT registry because JPU does follow the curriculum of the ARRT. But in order to work in most states in the United States, you have to have that state's license. And each state has requirements as to what type of school you go to. And this is one of the things that I say all the time is not all schools for medical imaging are created equal. And I'm not ragging on any school. I'm not saying any school. I've only gone to one school, so I can only speak for that school. But what I've seen over the 20 years is things like this happening. And recently, I made a story about another school that was ARRT and J-CERT accredited that closed down. But I'm going to talk about the difference of that closing versus what is happening here and why there is a huge, huge difference that puts one of those students at a disadvantage. So the other part of this is what's happening. Future students who go to JPU will not be eligible to sit for the New York State licensing for radiologic technology. So present students who haven't graduated as of January 10th, this is effective January 10th, you guys. This is not, okay, you're in a program, we'll let you go. New York said no. January 10th is cut off. Employers in New York can't legally hire someone that's not licensed in the state of New York. I held a New York license for many years because I was a travel technologist. when I started doing clinical applications, I would go to facilities and I would have radiologists say, hey, can you, I was training technologists and they would say, can you just jump in and scan? I'm like, no, I do not hold a New York radiologic license anymore. I am not touching that scanner. When you are working in a licensure state, you cannot operate medical imaging equipment per that state's requirement, even if you have an ARRT license. If you did not get the education from the appropriate accreditation for that state requires, like New York is saying, the program has to be JCERT. And again, as I said, JPU's program is not JCERT. So this is a lot. I know this is a lot. I would love to see you guys in the comments. Let me know what you think about this. Did you know about this? So if your state does not recognize that school's accreditation, please, 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 before you get into a program and pay $50,000 and $40,000, please check the accreditation and check the state you live in. I got a surprise for you guys at the end that might help out a lot. So this isn't about grades. It's not about state accreditation, licensing rules. It's serious. It's about the state accreditation and licensing rules. This is serious because there are people's lives at stake here. Why does this matter? To work in New York City as a radiologic technologist, your program, again, has to be approved by the New York State Department of Health Bureau and Radiology Technology. I don't know what they found as to had they been in communication earlier with the school to kind of tell them. I don't know. But according to JPU's website, they're surprised and they don't agree with it. So they're trying their best to fight it. But without that approval from New York, you cannot sit for your license to work in the state of New York. As far as I know, you can get your ARRT license. Translation, you can finish the program, but you still will not be able to work in the state of New York. This affects current JPU students who live in New York, anyone planning to enroll in this program and you live in New York, transfer students hoping to graduate. Like, this is serious. So what should you do now? This is important. So check your program status. That's what I would encourage you. If you are a student at JPU, reach out to them. It seems like they are trying to work with students and figure this out because there are a lot of students that would be affected by this and are affected by this. As a student, you want to be in communication. There's some other things I'm going to tell you that you can do as well. Contact that program director immediately. And you want to be able to make sure that you check your state's website. Also, always stay on that website. I believe that you should always read it beforehand. You should read it while you're a student because sometimes schools fall out of accreditation while you're in the program. Maybe they've been on probation before and you didn't read that before you applied to the school, so you didn't know they were already on probation for certain things before you applied and got in. And now that you're a student, it's time for the reevaluation to come up by the accreditation agency, or the state is coming in to reevaluate, and you're still in school. And that reevaluation comes up bad and they yank everything, and now you're affected because you are a student. These things happen. I hope this is really helpful. So what you want to do is contact your program director immediately and ask, will JPU assist in transfers? I got some information later on that I'm going to talk about in this live. I love you guys to ask questions if you have any, and you want to know, can you get a refund? It's worth asking, but many people, when they go to private universities, they get loans outside of the college that they have to repay whether you graduate or not. And these schools are $40,000 and up. What about working out of state? New York is surrounded by Connecticut, New Jersey. You have, those are options. Those are licensure states as well. So can you go to New Jersey and work? Can you go to Connecticut and work? Again, the school you choose will determine if you can get a license in those other states. There are maybe like 4 or 5 states that are not licensure states that if you pass your ART, you can go work in those states. But if you already have a home and a life in New York, who wants to uproot everything to move to another state where you have not established yourself? This is really, it's just a lot. So if you start looking at other schools after you try to make sure you get everything from your school and see what is happening, because hopefully they can work it out. at least for present students, but we don't know. This is all fresh and new. I literally just read about this on Saturday. But focus, if you do look at other schools, focus on JRCRT approved or J-certed schools is your best option. Because when you go to a J-cert school, if say for some reason, like just happened last year, there was a school that was ART and J-cert and they closed down. But their students were able to transfer to other schools that had room and would allow them to come into those programs. You know why? Because all of those schools are J-cert accredited. They follow all the same rules, ART and JRCT rules. So that helps you to be able to transfer things easily versus your program is not accredited by J-cert. You're going to have it's going to be almost impossible to transfer to a J-cert school. They're not going to accept everything. That is why I say not all imaging programs are created equal. And it's not to steer people. I make content about this all the time. It's not to steer people to certain schools, but I'm telling you, this is not the first time that this has happened or will not be the last time, unfortunately. You have to make sure you have a paper trail as well. Make sure, hopefully, during your whole time during school, you kept your transcripts, you kept emails, you kept course outlines of what courses you took, like down to the course number, the course credit hours, the title of the course. Make sure you keep all the documentation of your clinicals. Every clinical that you've comped on, you should have all that. Unfortunately, sometimes students just leave it in registration and allow them to have copies. Literally, you guys, literally, keep copies of everything you have, please, because this is going to help you in situations like this. So if you want to try to transfer over, you can now. Now, what does this mean for other technologists and future students? This is a wake-up call. Not every school, again, is created equal when it comes to medical imaging. Before you apply, even online, make sure the school is approved by the state you live in and states you plan to move to. We move all the time, right? I mean, I lived in multiple states. You may want to work in multiple states. You may want to travel. If you can't get a license to travel to that state because of the school you went to, that is going to affect your long-time career options. Make sure the school, number one, is eligible for you to sit for the ART. That's like the ARRT. That is like number one, I think. Make sure you can have your ARRT because without that, you definitely can't work. But again, your state has to approve the school that you go to. So if your state says that they're not J-cert, don't go to that school. Unless you plan on living in another state, that doesn't matter. But just don't limit yourself. Everything that's quick and easy to get in does not mean that it is for you long term. And are you willing to gamble on the possibilities that things like this could happen? So basically, I want to end this. Hopefully this has been helpful. Please feel free to comment, share your thoughts, share this with others. Be sure to check out my other videos so you can stay up to date. I'm going to also have in the description a guide for you all if you are a student thinking of radiologic technology, if you are a present student of certain schools and you want to know what are your options in case this happens. I'm going to have a helpful guide description down in the link, so please be sure to grab that for yourself and read over it, look at it. I just feel like it's really helpful information, one-stop shop for everything, and hopefully this helps the next generation to really take seriously that if you choose a school, you definitely want to make sure it works for you long term. So if you're a current JPU student, my heart goes out to you. It really does. Nothing like being in this situation. I just am at a loss for words. You do deserve better. This isn't your fault, but you do need to take certain actions to protect yourself and to prepare yourself so this is not going to stop you in your journey for becoming a medical imaging technologist. Save this video for later. Send it to someone who's thinking about going to a rad tech program, a radiology technology program who's in New York. Be sure to follow for more updates. I'm going to keep you guys updated on this story as I continue to learn about it. And I'll be sharing a list of approved programs. Again, I'll have that guide link in the description with transfer tips, things you can do to make sure you don't fall prey to certain situations that inevitably these things do happen. So until then, you guys, radiology students, please, please, please read the fine print, and let's all just hope for the best. Thank y'all.